This is an analysis of the college Greek exam done in fulfillment of a course at Michigan State University, a master's course in foreign language teaching. This course was on assessment. I'll look at the history of the college Greek exam, its content, and then make comments on its practicality, face validity, construct validity, content validity, washback, and impact. History of the college Greek exam. It's been in existence only since 2009. It followed the National Greek exam, which was a test meant for high schoolers. This was meant to fill the gap. It's aimed at second semester college students, and it's wholly text-based. The purpose of the exam was hard for me to find in the materials I could find online. I did find in a flyer this statement, quote, "This is a chance for your students to compete with other students across the country and for you and your administrators to show off your program on a national scale," end quote. The form of the test. There are 40 questions on the test. 30 are purely grammatical and 10 are on a brief reading passage. According to Major 2018, he says, quote, "The grammatical material was chosen with the idea that these are the fundamental concepts for any beginning reader of ancient Greek, Attic, or Koine," end quote. Those last 10 questions are supposed to test comprehension of a brief passage that's adapted from Attic Greek. With these test materials online, you find a document called a syllabus. I'm unfamiliar with that term in this context, but the syllabus is something that delineates the forms, grammars, syntax that should be mastered in order to pass the exam. And then it gives also a list of 250 vocabulary words that test takers should know. I'll give you a specific taste of the test. This is from Watanabe's 2011 paper on the Greek exam and taken from a past Greek exam. Here you see an item and distractors and keys, all multiple choice questions. The entire test is my multiple choice. After the distractors and key, you'll find a percentage that shows how many students chose which answer. So take a look. Number 4 in Greek most clearly is most accurately rendered as, and then it gives you 4 different forms of the same word, a noun, an adverb, a comparative, and a superlative. And you can see that most, 76.6, chose the correct answer. Number 5, the active participle that corresponds to the middle participle, praxameni, is, and here most got it wrong. The correct answer would be D, protomenu. 5.2% got that right. You can see from this example that there are just very straight up grammatical questions, and that's the first 30 questions. Now take a look at the reading questions. Out of the 10 questions intended to be comprehension of reading, 7 of them are like this. Pretty much the same as the first part of the test, grammatical based. The case and number of udena, line 4, found in the story, are, and there you have the choices, nominative, singular, nominative, plural, so on. Out of those 10 questions, 3 are truly comprehension questions. We might have preferred a short answer question to prove comprehension better than a multiple choice, but as I said, the whole test is multiple choice. Here you have number 40 in lines 7 to 8, dikeos and adikos. What does the speaker tell the jurors to do and to avoid doing? And yes, the greatest score there, 49.5, was correct. Save the speaker and not let him suffer. As far as practicality, this is a free test. You receive it by mail and then your institution will give it to the students. The rating procedure is unknown, but since it's multiple choice, it's probably straightforward and very practical to rate. They do a great deal of analysis on the tests, and you can find those online. I found no evidence of stakeholder input. The analysis that they do blends into the next point there, face validity. There are some big names behind this and a big claim made about this test, that this is the first and only nationally standardized exam for assessing students in their first year of college level Greek. And these big names, the claims and the analysis that they do, even scholarly papers written about the test, certainly increase its face validity. On the other hand, if you look at the participation and the results, that does take some of the shine off. Only about 200 students take this test. In 2016, there was 217 test takers. The average grade on that test was 61.8%, with only 3 students scoring above 90%. And in 2017, 196 took the test. Their average grade was a bit lower, 51.01%, with only 1 student above 90%. So that does call somewhat to question its validity. Construct validity. Well, the construct that is underneath this test is the grammar translation method. And that's based on that theory that language can be learned through rules and patterns. As is typically employed today, learners are presented with a label and an explanation of a grammatical structure, and that's probably followed by some sentences showing the structure in use. Learners are asked to memorize grammatical rules and lists of morphological patterns, and then when it comes to the exercise of reading, they employ this rule-based view of language. They basically decode. They're asked to decode, probably word by word, and then reconstruct it to make sense. So if that's the construct, and I think it is underneath this test, testing so heavily on parsing and grammatical features probably is appropriate, and it has construct validity. I disagree with that pedagogical construct. I think it's wrong, and therefore I think this assessment is wrong. I don't think that we understand language and can read it with comprehension via explicit instruction. The implicit doesn't result from the explicit instruction. I like Comenius' quote here. He wrote this in 1658, famous guy and author of Orbis Sensualum Pictus. Latin grammar was taught us with all the exceptions and irregularities, Greek grammar with all its dialects, and we poor wretches were so confused that we scarcely understood what it was all about. I think we have an example of that in this test. The low scores show it. I have low confidence that the test takers actually comprehended the reading that they were reading. I think they were able to answer some of the questions. They were able to answer some of the 30 grammatical questions, but did that really show their comprehension of Greek? I don't think so. Let's take a look at content validity. The full text for the comprehension, the last part of the text, is a 73-word excerpt from Lucius. Now this does have content validity. It is an ancient Greek text, and it's something that if you were taking classical Greek in college, it's something that you would be studying or very similar to it. But there's no context given to this text at all. The context is that Lucius is addressing the Athenians and saying that his pension really should be continued. None of that context is given in the text. Furthermore, I think the authenticity itself is a problem. Often in Latin and in Greek teaching, there is a big emphasis put on authenticity, that we can't use composed texts. And yet, for first-year Greek students, I think almost any authentic text is too hard. I think authenticity can be redefined, as Tomlinson and others have done, to say this should be something like and authentic like a classical Greek text or a biblical text, but in order to be accessible it must be something more simple, and that would require a teacher or someone to compose the Greek. That's what I do, and I think it works well. I compose not in classical but in Koine Greek. Here too, there's only one brief excerpt in the text for comprehension, and that means reduced reliability. I suspect the fact that it is kept so short is because most first-year Greek students have a lot of trouble comprehending text, and so this was maybe seen as making it more fair, easier for them to do within a test time. But that seriously reduces reliability. We don't really know if they can comprehend Greek based on one short, difficult 73-word excerpt from Lucius. As far as washback, that is the beneficial consequences of the test, it probably fit very well with the test writer's objectives. For a person who is preparing to take this test, he could get the syllabus provided by the test writers. There's even a free course online to prep for the test. And so in terms of increasing learning as a consequence of taking this test, it probably did have good washback. But again, the focus is on learning more grammar, learning discrete vocabulary, rather than, in my opinion, learning reading comprehension. What's the impact to test takers and stakeholders? Those who do best do get an award and a ribbon. The top scorer gets a book scholarship. And for the school that has test takers enrolled, if their aggregate score is the highest, they get some sort of recognition from that too. I don't think any school, I'm not aware of any school actually using this test as a summative assessment, grades that would be put into the grade book for the school. In summary, this test has face validity. It's respected. It's very practical, easy to administer and grade, and it does have construct validity if we accept the underlying pedagogical construct of the grammar translation method. I believe that's a wrong pedagogical construct. I think the test has far too much emphasis, almost exclusive emphasis, on grammar. I don't think that really shows the ability of a student to comprehend Greek. I think the content validity has problems in the last part of the test, where the reading selection is far too short. There's only one selection, and it's very difficult. I personally couldn't recommend this test as a valid test for figuring out, for testing the ability of college students to comprehend Greek.